Okay, so let's unpack this. You brought us, well, quite the stack of sources here.
Hmm.
And they're hinting at something truly bizarre. I mean, uniquely gross and just hilariously expensive, a real disaster.
Hmm.
We're diving into a kind of calamity that honestly makes you question everything. Modern architecture, urban planning, maybe even just, basic hygiene.
Yeah, it goes there.
Forget those stories about, like, floods of chocolate or beer. This is something fundamentally weirder,
Yeah.
stickier, definitely,
Yeah.
and maybe more disturbing.
It really is.
So our mission in this deep dive, basically, is to pull out the most absurd, the most unforgettable, and frankly, kind of stomach-churning details from this material. We're talking about a brand new library, it's poor books, and a whole lot of things you really, really do not want falling on your head.
We're crawling nearby. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
So get ready. This is a story that starts with, like, gleaming civic pride and ends. Well, let's just say it ends in a sticky, scuttling nightmare.
It's just a perfect storm, isn't it, of completely unintended consequences. Libraries, they're supposed to be these sanctuaries. Quiet study, maybe a bit dusty, sure, but
Yeah.
essentially stable.
Stable, right?
This story is anything but. It's about this state-of-the-art building that, it seems, actively rebelled against its whole purpose, pretty much from day one.
Rebelled is putting it mildly. I mean, the setup here, reading these sources, it's pure civic boosterism meets, like grand architectural ambition. Picture it. San Francisco, mid-90s. They unveil this brand new main library.
Big deal at the time.
Huge deal. Not a renovation, a totally new building, big name architects costing a just mind-boggling $140 million.
Wow.
Yeah. 9 stories, massive central atrium, tons of glass, open spaces, all designed to be this bright, modern symbol of knowledge, right?
The dream.
They even put in this cutting-edge automated system for moving books around, including returns.
Yes.
Like the future.
Very high-tech.
So with all that cash, all that design talent, all that civic pride, how on earth did it become this national punchline?
That really is the million-dollar question. Or maybe the 140 million plus. Millions more crawled in. The sources point right at the building's core design. It looked stunning, absolutely.
Sure.
But that huge, open, glass-filled atrium, it basically created this passive solar effect, turned the inside into, well, a greenhouse.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And the climate control systems, even though they were new, they just weren't robust enough. They couldn't counteract that heat gain and keep things cool and dry, which is, essential for preserving paper and glue.
Kind of important for a library.
Fundamentally, they designed a beautiful building for people, sure, but they completely failed to design a functional archive for the actual books.
Wait, hang on. So the multi-million-dollar system couldn't keep the books cool and dry. That's library 101.
You'd think so. It's fundamental.
And the consequences of that heat and humidity were, let's just say, spectacular.
Spectacular is one word for it.
So let's start with the maybe less creepy crawly problem first. The famous book rain.
Ah, yes, the book rain. Sounds almost poetic, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah, but I have a bad feeling.
The reality was anything but poetic. Because of that excessive heat and humidity inside, the adhesive, the glue used in thousands and thousands of book bindings, it started to degrade.
Degrade how?
It literally started melting, turning gooey, failing.
Melting book glue. Okay, just the phrase itself is kind of deeply unpleasant.
It really is. And as that glue failed, pages just started detaching.
Oh, boy.
Now, combine that with their fancy automated book return system. Remember that?
The cutting edge one, yeah.
So books are zipping through this system, right? And as they move, the loose pages, now sticky with melted glue, they just fall out.
Fall out where? Inside the building.
Precisely. And thanks to that massive 9-story atrium design,
Uh-oh.
these detached pages didn't just fall to the floor nearby. No, they drifted. The sources describe it so vividly. Sticky, glue-covered pages just fluttering down from the upper levels, spiraling through that huge open space.
Like sticky snow.
Exactly. And settling in drifts on the floors below. Imagine you're sitting downstairs trying to read a totally different book, and suddenly you're getting showered with random sticky pages from other books.
Oh, my God.
It was like this dystopian paper snow globe, except the snow is sticky and probably smells vaguely of failing adhesive.
Okay, that visual is both completely absurd and genuinely unsettling. Getting rained on by discarded gluey chapters from books you didn't even check out, only at the $140 million library.
It's unbelievable.
But, as you hinted, where you have warmth, humidity, failing organic stuff like paper and glue,
Yeah.
and probably, let's be real, the odd forgotten sandwich crust in a returned book.
You create paradise.
You create a paradise for things with, shall we say, too many legs.
You create, according to every source, a thriving ecosystem for pests. The exact conditions that melted the glue were absolutely ideal breeding grounds for cockroaches and silverfish.
Of course, the connoisseurs.
Yeah.
The true experts of warm, damp places and decaying organic matter.
They moved right in, set up shop immediately. The damp environment, the easy food source from the degrading book bindings, plus any little crumbs people left behind. Their populations just exploded. The sources make it really clear they weren't just in the library, they were absolutely everywhere.
Not exactly quiet neighbors, I'm guessing.
Far from it. People trying to work or read would see them, scuttling across tables, popping out from shelves, even around the computer terminals.
Yeah.
And get this, in a detail that's just so viscerally revolting, it's kind of hard to forget. Those book pages drifting down onto the lower levels.
Just sticky snow pages.
Yeah. They weren't just sticky with glue. Sources reported finding cockroaches and silverfish already stuck to them as they fell.
No. Stop it right there.
Yeah.
You are telling me library patrons were getting hit by falling, gluey pages with bugs already attached.
That's what the reports say.
That elevates this from just like an expensive instruction screw-up to full-blown horror comedy B-movie territory.
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
A $140 million palace of knowledge, simultaneously shedding its skin in sticky sheets and being actively overrun by an army of multi-legged freeloaders literally stuck to the falling debris.
Wow. It was, to put it mildly, not the symbol of modern civic achievement San Francisco had hoped for.
I can imagine the public reaction was not positive.
Ranged from disgust to just outright fury. How could this brand new building, built at such enormous expense, be so fundamentally flawed? Flawed to the point it was literally destroying its own contents and becoming infested within months.
Yeah, good question. And fixing this. It wasn't like just opening a window or putting out a few bug traps, right? The aftermath sounds like it was almost as expensive as the building itself.
Oh, absolutely. The sources talk about millions more poured into corrections.
Millions.
Yeah.
On top of the $140 million.
Millions more, yes. First, the original totally inadequate climate control systems. They had to be completely gutted and replaced. Replaced with far more powerful ones, systems that could actually fight against the building's own tendency to overheat.
Okay, that sounds expensive.
Then came the massive, multi-pronged extermination effort across 9 floors. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And finally, just the sheer scope of the damage to the book collection itself. Tens of thousands of books were ruined. They needed costly rebinding or just complete replacement because of the glue damage and the bug infestation. It was just a monumental, ongoing headache and expense for years.
It's a truly unforgettable story, and frankly, hilarious in the sheer scale of its failure. Yeah. This intersection of grand architectural vision and the simple, inconvenient realities of, like, material science and, well, entomology.
Bug.
Pretty much. A symbol of progress utterly defeated by humidity and cockroaches.
What's so fascinating here, looking at it, is how that pursuit of aesthetic grandeur, that amazing soaring atrium, the focus on natural light, those passive systems, it completely overlooked the basic environmental needs of the stuff it was designed to hold. The books. Exactly. It's this powerful example of form just utterly failing function, with incredibly expensive and, yes, very gross consequences. It wasn't just some minor oversight. It was a fundamental misjudgment of how the building materials and the contents would react to the internal climate they created.
So what does this all mean then? We started with this gleaming $140 million symbol of knowledge, right? Civic ambition, supposed to propel San Francisco into the future.
The pinnacle.
And instead, we got raining pages, melting glue, and a multi-million-dollar bug infestation. Just incredible. We've seen how prioritizing that stunning visual design over the really practical requirements for just preserving the collection, how it turned a state-of-the-art library into, well, a sticky, creepy, crawly disaster zone.
A costly lesson.
Yeah, it really raises an important question, doesn't it? That in our drive to create these sleek, modern, visually impressive spaces, are we sometimes losing sight of the fundamental truths, the sometimes messy realities of the materials we use, and the biological world that doesn't always respect our architectural plans?
That's the core of it.
It makes you wonder, what other simple, inconvenient truths are we maybe designing our way around right now? And what unexpected, maybe even potentially revolting consequences might be waiting just down the line for us? Something to think about.